Hello everyone, my name is Mensa Isaac. You are welcome to the Day Tutor. Today we are going to look at an example question under bank reconciliation. Good. So we have the question on our screens. We are going to see how to go about it. Now this question says the requirement is we should prepare an adjusted cash book showing the revised balance which should appear in the books of Susubribe Enterprise as at 31st January 2022, and we should also prepare the bank reconciliation statements as at 31st January 2022. Good. So we are going to start with the question. So with this question, we have our cash book and we have our bank statement. Okay, so what we are going to do is that we are going to look for the mistakes or the omissions made by the entity. Okay, then we will correct it. Then we also look at the mistakes or omissions made by the bank, then we correct it. Good. So with this question, what you have to note is that when the bank is debiting, we are crediting. When we are crediting, the bank is debiting. When we are debiting, the bank is crediting. When the bank is crediting, we are debiting. Do you get what I said? Good. So what if you know this question is okay for you, you are good to go. So what we are going to do here is that in preparing the adjusted cash book, we said we are going to correct this cash book using the adjusted cash book. And what is recorded here is things we, the cash or the business, didn't record. The cashier in the business didn't record those transactions in the cash book. So that's what you are going to record. That means that if you want to know the things that were not recorded, we have to go to the bank statement. Look, cross-check out for the items the bank recorded, but we didn't record. Do you get it? Those are the items that we will be recording here. Good. So when you go to the bank statement, fine, we are going to check in the bank statement to know the item that the bank recorded but we didn't record, to record them in the adjusted cash book. Fine. But we also have to know that the bank is crediting, then we are debiting. The bank is debiting, then we are crediting. If you know this, we'll be able to know where we are supposed to record the items missing. Okay. So first of all, what we'll do is that we'll write our balance for the adjusted cash book. And in the question, you could see that the question has a balance brought forward of 1,000. That's not what we are going to use. When you check the balance CD, for the cash book, it is 3,044.8. 3,044.8. Good. So that's what we are going to use as a balance BD, because at the end of the year, that's the balance we had in the cash book, and the balance we had in the bank statement was 3,171.2. Okay, you see, they are not balances, but normally at the end of the month or period, it should what tally, it should balance. The cash book has to agree with the what bank statement, but in this case you could see that it is not agreeing. Do you get it? So we are going to correct it in the adjusted cash book. Good. And the bank reconciliation will also be used to correct the items that the bank didn't what record. So with that one, we are going to look in the cash book and find the items we recorded in the cash book but the bank didn't record. That is what we are going to correct or record in the bank reconciliation. Do you get it? Good. Now we move on to how to go about this question. The balance, we know that it will be 3,044.8. Good. So first of all, what we'll do is that write our balance BD here. 3,044.8. Good. So that's our balance BD. We've done what we are supposed to do with the balance. Good. CD is at the credit side. So definitely the BD will be at the debit side. Okay, because the one in the cash book is showing a carried down. When it's a carried down, when it's starting the when we are using, we want to make it a BD, an opening balance, because that's the balance we have to start with to correct the errors. When we want to correct the errors, we have to start with the balance, okay, before we correct the errors. And the balance given here was the balance CD. We had a balance CD of 3,044.8. So the BD will be here as balance BD. Then we move to items that were not recorded in the cash book. So how do we know the items that were not recorded in the cash book? We have to go to the bank statement and check the items the bank recorded, but we didn't record in the what? Cash book. Good. So when we move to the bank, we will see that the bank check withdrawal 750 was there. We'll check for standing order. We have a standing order of 230. Okay. We are first cross checking out the debit side. Okay, we have a standing order of 230. When we check in the cash book, we will see that there is no standing order 230 at the credit side of the cash book, which is supposed to be there, because if the bank is debiting, I should credit with that same amount. But you could see that the bank has debited 230 as standing order, but in the cash book there is no credited amount as 230. So we are going to correct that error by writing that 230 there. So the standing order will be 230. Do you get it? Good. Now we look out for the debit side, same debit side again, because we know that if they are debiting, we will be crediting. That's why when we were recording the standing order, we didn't record at the debit side. And besides, if you know what standing order is an instruction given by the business to the bank to make payments on their behalf. So if I'm making payments, what's the payment side for cash book? Credit side. Do you get it? Good. So we move on to the debit side and check the items at the debit side, but not the debit side of the bank statement, but not on the credit side of the cash book. Do you get it? Good. So we move on. We see that there is charges, 170 bank charges. Good. So if the bank is debiting, we are crediting. Okay. So if the bank is debiting, we are crediting, and it's debited 170 as bank charges. We should debit the bank charges, because for the services they are rendering to us, they will deduct, and deduct, we are making payments to them. You get it? Good. So we should credit in the cash book, but we didn't. Okay, because that information maybe was not available, or we didn't we are not able to recognize, to record that charges deducted by the bank. Good. So we'll check the same debit side. So we first have to check the debit side. Then come and check the someone to decide to compare with the credit side. Start with the credit side to know the items at the credit side of the bank statement that are not on the debit side. Okay. Good. So wherever you start from is going to be okay for you. So we'll go to we have check book fees, good, which is 50 cedis, 50 Ghana cedis, and we know that it is at the debit side, but was not on the credit side of the what? Cash book. Do you get it? There was no checkbook fee here on the credit side of the cash book. That means that it was a mistake made by the what? Cashier in the business. Okay, so we are going to record or correct that amount here, 50 cedis. Good. So now with the debit side we are done. Okay, the other items at the debit side, you will see them the same at the credit side of the cash book. So you could see that those items were recorded in the cash book, but these items were recorded by the bank. but not entered or recorded in our cash book. You get it? So we've corrected them by recording them in the what? Cash book. Good. So we move on to the item that were supposed to be what? Debited in our cash book, but we didn't debit in the cash book. Good. So we have the 1,000 is there, credits. The credit 1,000 is there at the debit side of the cash book. 63.4, which is dividend, was not found in the cash book. Okay, 63,000 was not found in the cash book. So what we are going to do is that we are going to record that 63.4 in our adjusted cash book because it was a dividend we received. Okay, good. So if we receive dividend as a company, sometimes we will not know. It is the bank, that information will be available to the bank. So the bank, it will be paid directly through our bank account. So the bank will see to what? Credit our account, but we didn't see to debit our account. So it was recorded in the bank statement. Good. So it was credited. That means we are going to debit. Okay. So while the bank is crediting, we are debiting. They get it. Good. So with the bank statement, we have dividend not recorded in the cash book. So we are going to correct it by recording it in the adjusted cash book. So the dividend was 63.4. Good. Now we move to any other item that was recorded at the credit side but not recorded at the debit side of the cash book. We have 210, which is traders credit. Okay, traders credit or trade credit. Traders credit. Okay. Good. So with this traders credit, it was 210. Okay. It was not recorded in our cash book. Okay, we were supposed to debit in our cash book because it was credited by the bank. It increased our balance, which we are supposed to debit in the cash book but was not debited. Okay, so while the bank is crediting, we are debiting. So if we are correcting it in our adjusted cash book, we have to what? Debit the trade credit because the bank credited. You get it? Good. So we'll check for any other item that was not recorded in the adjusted cash book but was recorded in the bank statement. Okay, so we could see that the 3,052 was recorded in the cash book. So that's all for the items that were not recorded in the what? Adjusted cash book. Do you get it? Good. So after finding all, you could see that all these items recorded, the balances were in the cash book, so we'll bring it forward as the beginning balance. Then we'll check for items not recorded in the adjusted cash book. Okay, so we could see that this standing on the bank charges, checkbook fees, dividend, traders credit were all not recorded in the what? Cash book. So now we've recorded it in the cash book. But how would we have known that this is going to the credit side, this is going to the debit side? If the bank is crediting, we are debiting. So the items that were credited by the bank and we didn't debit, we will have to come here to debit it. Do you get it? And the items that were debited by the bank, but we didn't record, we were supposed to credit them. So we are going to debit, or sorry, we are going to credit those items. And these items were what? Debited by the bank, but we what? Didn't credit. These two items were credited by the bank, but we didn't debit. Do you get it? Good. So after this, we are done with the items that we are supposed to record in the adjusted cash book. So now we'll find our balance CD. Okay, that's going to be the actual amount that was supposed to be recorded or shown in the what? Cash book. Do you get it? Good. So that's what we are going to record. Now let's find our differences, the total. So we could see that the debit side will be greater than the credit side. Okay, so the debit side will be greater than the credit side. So the total of the debit side will be recorded at both sides or on both sides. So we have the total to be 3,318 points. 3,318 118.20. 3,118 point. Sorry, is it 3,000? Yeah, 3,318. Sorry, 3,318.20. 3,318.20. Good. So after finding our greater side and recording them at both sides, we are going to find our difference. And our difference is the shortfall is at the credit side. Okay, so that's going to be our balance CD. Okay, so the balance CD will be here. And what are we going to get for our balance CD? Our balance CD is going to be 2,868. 2,868.20. Okay, and this same CD will come here as balance BD. Okay, so balance BD, which is 2,868.20. Okay, so that will be all for the adjusted cash book. Okay, so when we go to the bank reconciliation statement, we are going to what? Check for items recorded in the cash book but not recorded in the bank statement. Okay, these items were recorded in the bank statement but not recorded in the cash book, so we have corrected them in the adjusted cash book. So when we go to the bank reconciliation statement, we are going to correct or record items that were recorded in the cash book but not recorded in the bank statement. Do you get it? Good. So the question said that we should show the what? Actual balance of what? Which should appear in the books of Susugribi. And this is the actual balance that was supposed to what? Appear. Good. So let's move on to prepare the bank reconciliation statement. Okay, so we move to the second requirement, which is the bank reconciliation statement. So as we already know, the format is balance as per cash book. Then you add your unpresented checks. Okay, then you add your wrong credits to your unpresented checks. What you get, the total you get, you add the balance as per adjusted cash book amount. Then you bring the total down. You leave it there. Then you less uncredited checks. You add your uncredited checks and wrong debits. Then you less it from the amount you've already gotten. Then you get your balance as per bank statement. Okay. Someone will also decide to start with the balance as per bank statement. Okay. Balance as per bank statement. The person will add uncredited checks and wrong debits. Then the person will less unpresented checks and wrong credits. Okay, so we will be using the balance as per cash book, adjusted cash book. Okay, so we'll start with our balance as per adjusted cash book. Good. So with the balance as per adjusted cash book, we had 2,868 2,868.2. Okay, so that's the amount we had as the balance for the cash book, adjusted cash book. So that's what we are going to start with. So now we'll come to our unpresented checks. We'll add our unpresented checks. Good. So with the unpresented checks, we are going to look for the items that were what? Credited in our cash book, but not debited in the bank statement. We are going to look for items that were credited in our cash book, but not what? Debited in our bank statement. Good. So with the cash book, we could see that as that was credited in the cash book, with unpresented checks, we know that they are issued by the business for payment, and the bank didn't record or debit our account. Okay. So that means we the business recorded in our cash book, we will see that, oh, we've issued this check out, so we have to credit our account, but the bank has not debited our account. Good. So we are the bank reconciliation statement is going to be used to correct the error they made. Okay, good. So we could see that ASIDA was credited in our cash book, but when we move to the bank statement, there's no ASIDA debited in the bank statement. Do you get it? So we have ASIDA there, ASIDA 0, ASIDA 1, 232, 232. Good. So we are listing the unpresented checks. So ASIDA, we could see that Emma Deku was recorded here with the number 1158003 and the same amount 1138 here with the same number. So you could see that for Emerald was credited and debited in the bank statement. Okay, so that one we have no problem with that because it was recorded. Good. So we move to Philomena. Philomena was credited in our cash book with the amount 230, but was not debited in the bank statement. Okay, so we are going to record that as unpresented checks. Okay, so Philomena, the amount is 230. Good. Now we move to Daku Anna. Daku Anna was credited but was not debited in our bank statement. Okay, so whatever we are crediting, the bank should be debiting, but here lies the case that the bank do not debit the what bank statement. Good. So Daku Anna here was 395. 395. Good. Then we have Katrina. Katrina here was credited but was not debited in our what? Bank statement. Okay, Katrina was credited but was not debited in our bank statement. Good. So we are going to record Katrina too. 1,380. Okay. So we move to Whistle. Whistle was recorded in a cash book, and good. Whistle was also recorded in our bank statement. Okay, so you could see that the number is the same as the one in the cash book, showing that the amount we recorded for Whistle was also recorded in the bank statement. You get it? Good. So we move to the insurance, which is 91.2. We could see that the 91.2 insurance was also debited in the bank statement with the same amount. So that means the check number is the same as the amount we see in the cash book. So that means it was recorded. So we have no problem with that. So with the unpresented checks, we could see that that's all for the unpresented checks. Every other thing was recorded in the bank statement. Good. So we are going to total this amount and record it here. So when we total, we are going to get 2,237 points. Okay, there's no point. Good. So add it together, and we are getting 5,105.2. Good. So now we know that we have to less our what? Unpresented checks. Uncredited checks. Good. So with this one, we are going to check for items that was debited in the cash book but was not credited in the bank statement. You get it? The unpresented, we looked for items that were credited in the cash book but not debited in the bank statement. So for the uncredited checks, we are going to look at items debited in the cash book but not credited in the bank statement. Okay, we know that uncredited checks are checks that were not credited by the bank. Okay, so we will look out for those items. Okay, so we have 1,000 was recorded in the bank statement as credit. As okay, then we have check deposits 304, which was not recorded. Okay, so the checks deposits 304 was not recorded. Good. Then we move to and see if there was any item debited in the cash book but was not credited in the bank statement. Okay, so we have another cash deposit 1,630. Okay, so it was not credited by the bank, so therefore we have to what? Show the amount here as cash deposits, which is 1,630. Good. Then we move on to check deposit was recorded. Yes, it was recorded in our bank statement, so we have no problem with that. We'll check for any other item that was not recorded. Any other item that was not recorded. So that was all for the item that was not credited by the bank. Okay, so with the unpresented checks, we checked for items that was credited in our cash book but was not debited by the bank. Then the uncredited checks, we checked for items that were debited in the cash book but was not credited by the banks. Okay, so you could see that there was no wrong credits, there was no wrong debits here. Good. So this bank reconciliation was involving unpresented checks and uncredited checks. So after that, we will add this figure together. What we get will be less from this figure. So we have 1,934. 1,934 here. So when we less this from this, we are going to get the 3,171.20 or 0.2. Okay, so this is the balance as per what? Bank statement. So you write it here, balance as per bank statement. So you could see that this balance was the balance we had in the what? Bank statement. So you could see that the balance CD, you see there is a debit side and a credit side, and there is a balance there. Okay, good. So you could see that at the end of the month, the balance in the bank statement was 3,171.2. Okay, good. So after everything, that's what you should get. So if you start with this as balance per bank statement, as somebody would do, okay, so the other format, when you start with this balance as per bank statement and you add your uncredited checks, okay, because with that one, when we start with this, you are going to add uncredited checks. After that, you less your unpresented checks, you should come and get this. You get it? So however way you want to treat the question. Good. So that's all for this question, and I hope you've understood it. The next time we'll meet to be solving more questions under the bank reconciliation statement. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, and share this video so that others can benefit. My name is Mensa Isaac. Bye.